All right, everybody, welcome in. It's Tuesday, July 19th, and the slog of the summer this time of year. Not much going on unless you watched New York Liberty Connecticut Sun earlier today. There was a live sporting event at 11:30 this morning. Shameless plug, but yeah, the MLB All-Star Game is tonight, so we're going to discuss. We'll also get into some MLB futures because it's that time of year. You reset, you take a look at the board. Okay, where's the value in the award winners? Where's the value in teams to make the playoffs, not make the playoffs, MVP, Cy Young, World Series, whatever it may be? This is the Slate. We are a DraftKings show. We will take you up until about 6 o'clock, right before that next slate of Madden games tonight on the DraftKings YouTube page. We also join you on the DraftKings Twitch page. Good to know. No Madden on this Tuesday. Why not? Like, what else are people going to do besides the All-Star game? Anyway, what do I know? Anyway, Brendan Glasheen with Matt LaMarca. Yeah, LaMarca and I are finally together on this Tuesday. What's up, LaMarca?
The outcome, but Glash, I think I can just blame it on you because you held me to answers on these questions.
True.
And I just was saying I started out saying this is an exhibition event, you know, just do it for fun. But then I got suckered in, so I'm going to give you like 70% of the blame on this.
That's totally fair. I mean, we do ask for our analysts to come on and give takes, not necessarily plays. You never said like this is what I would play, but you gave leans, you gave picks.
Yeah. But I did bet a bunch of those things for myself too. I went 0 for whatever the number was. So yeah, it didn't work out so well.
Okay. So all right. Well, in that case, you stuck to your word though. That's good.
Yeah.
Very good. So we'll spend some time on baseball. If anything breaks, this is what this show is for. If news breaks, we'll get to it. But we come to you live. It's an afternoon version of the Sweat, essentially, but more of a talk show form if you're new here. So we'll basically answer everything and anything for the next 35 minutes or so. So we've got the All-Star Game pulled up on the DraftKings Sportsbook. The small favorite by a small margin, the National League at -115. If you look at that National League roster, you could even look at their bench and go, "Ooh, I kind of like their bench even more than their starting lineup." And the American League at -105. Total set at 7.5. Also, I want to get Meiselman's thoughts on this from a betting perspective. You too, LaMarca. You have to do this right now, but it's a tease for later. If this is a tie going to extra innings, they don't play extra innings. They're going to have a home run derby tonight to decide this thing. So I'm curious, as a bettor, does that scare you? Does that bother you? Does that annoy you? I'm just curious.
Well, the total won't be affected. It's just the winner. The total is graded at the end of regulation. So I guess I don't even know how that would make sense if the total was affected by the derby at the end. But if it's tied at the end, let's say it's 4-4. And you have under 8.5, like if you bet an alternate line, you win.
Okay, very good. That's good to know. Because people probably are wondering that. If the game is tied 3-3 or 4-4, whatever it may be, I guess there would be no one on base too. So I say we're going to tease it, and here we are talking about it. But
yeah, we'll just start here.
Yeah, that's okay.
I hate it.
You hate it.
Teams are big enough that it shouldn't be an issue, right? If it goes to extra innings, so what? Each team's got like 30 pitchers. They can do the extra innings rule, which severely cuts down on the number of late extra inning games that you see anyway. It would be like if a NBA game ended and they decided, you know what, we're going to settle this with a 3-point shootout.
Right.
I just think it's silly. I mean, it is an exhibition, so I guess if fans are interested, so be it. But I just think it's a little gimmicky.
I hate it too, but kind of for different reasons. It's for DFS purposes. My favorite way to play GPPs for All-Star games, and I actually do think that it can be viable to play them because all the starters have the green check marks and the bench players are all hidden. And the ownership on the bench players for that reason will always be lower. I mean, there are some people who are kind of onto this, but the bench plays roughly as much as the starters. And if the game did go to extras, you get extra at bats. Like, they can't sub the starters back in baseball like they could in other sports. So all of the extra inning fantasy points would have gone to the bench. And I think we did get that 1 year semi-recently. I may have that wrong. I think there was an extra inning game a couple of years ago, but obviously that's no longer possible because the contest is over at the end of the ninth inning. I still think we can talk about that. I think that stacking the bench is a viable strategy. I just don't think people do that. But it's not as good now because you can't get that boost of extra innings if the game happens to be tied.
This is a good point. Yes. So we can discuss strategy. We've got the DraftKings contest pulled up as well. Get involved if you please. If you are in an eligible state, same goes for the sports book. So where should we begin? Is this mapped out correctly as far as the odds, the total, National League being favored, Meiselman?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like this is a 50-50
Again,
game.
I will tell you. You need
Yeah.
to get. I need a take. I need.
No.
No. Good.
I'm not doing it after yesterday. No way. No takes.
Oh, no takes.
I'll maybe give an MVP take. I do think, like, do not bet any of the single-digit odds MVP bets, like Ohtani or Judge or Vlad or Betts for All-Star Game MVP. Like, definitely stay away from those. I may go after Corey Seager again. Like, let's buy the narrative again. Like, it's his home stadium. He's 100-1. I think you can like throw a small bet on some of these super long shots. But no, I don't.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Matt can answer this or Glash, you can answer it. Ohtani is starting at designated hitter. Is he eligible to then pitch as well?
That is a good question. I don't know.
I would imagine, right? With for an exhibition rule, that's a great question.
Maybe one of our hotshot producers can look up that answer while we're talking. Because if Ohtani,
here we go. First result of Ohtani availability in the old Google machine. Ohtani to slug, but not pitch in All-Star game.
Okay.
So he's not pitching. Okay.
With that in mind, I think the National League has a pretty sizable pitching advantage in this contest, right? Shane McClanahan for the Rays, maybe the best pitcher in baseball this season. He's going to go 2 innings, right? But after that, Verlander is not going to pitch. Garrett Cole is not going to pitch. We now know that Ohtani is not going to pitch. You're left with a kind of uninspiring player pool of pitchers here, right? I'm not saying any of these guys are bad, but they're missing a lot of their top guns. On the National League side, it's not quite as bad. You don't have Corbin Burns, you don't have Max Fried, and you don't have Josh Hader, but you've still got Kershaw, Sandy. You've got my guy Edwin Diaz. I just like the National League starting pitching a little bit more in this game.
Yeah, I'm kind of scanning through this. We have confirmation that Burns isn't available because there's nothing on him, like on his notes.
I think Michaelis was the replacement for Corbin Burns.
Oh, interesting. So that's a pretty sizable downgrade. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like a lot of the top end pitchers aren't available. Hader not being there is, I guess, they don't want to overwork him or whatever. He's had some struggles recently. Yeah, I guess I tend to think a lot of these NL guys are overrated. So I agree with you. The AL pitchers are overrated. But, like, I'm not the biggest fan of Tony Gonsolin. I think Sandy Alcantara, he deserves this to be favored for the Cy Young at this point, but I think he's a little overhyped. Like, he's averaging 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. We need to, like, rein it in with the Sandy love as, like, this lock for the Cy Young at this point. But I agree with you. The NL is better. I just think that that's sort of accounted for, right? Because the AL has the better offense.
Sure. I mean, look at the top here with the lineup. Ohtani will lead off. Then you go Judge, Devers, Guerrero. It's a pretty then Stanton, Buxton, followed by who is the 7th? Oh, Tim Anderson will hit 7th, and Jimenez will hit 8th. Which again, I mean, you want to pay that much for a guy who's hitting 8th? I don't know.
Well, I think my favorite hitter on the AL as far as starters are concerned is actually Alejandro Kirk, because correct me if I'm wrong, there's only 2 catchers on the American League roster. And one of them is Jose Trevino, who I don't think people are going to be as excited to watch. Like, Kirk is the draw.
Yeah, that's correct. I actually like all the catchers in this game because it's the one position where there's only one backup, right? Technically, the NL has 2 starters, right? Or they have Wilson Contreras, they have William Contreras, but the Braves Contreras is the starting designated hitter. So I would imagine that takes him out of the catcher player pool. So you're looking at 4 guys, and I would expect each of them to catch about half the game. So that's better than what you're going to find at a lot of the other positions where there are multiple backups or multiple guys that can at least play. And I know that you were saying, Matt, that's kind of why you like the backups is they're a little bit sneakier, but a lot of these backups are going to get just one at bat. So it kind of really makes them have to do their damage with their one at bat. And if you're factoring ownership, maybe that's still the correct decision. But, at least with the starters, you can feel pretty good that most of these guys are going to get 2 chances at the plate.
No, I agree. Like in the AL, for example, you've got Tim Anderson, and then you have Corey Seager, who the fans are going to want to see, and then Xander Bogaerts, who's been there before. Like of all the bench guys, I mean, Bogaerts could hit a home run in his one at bat, so who knows? But like that's someone who seems like a lock for only 1 plate appearance, and he may not even get any. Some of these guys may not even get in the game except for on defense. So I think, yes, I hear what you're saying. I still think you want to look towards the bench, but you kind of have to be picky about which bench hitters you go after. Shortstop seems like a particularly tough spot for it. I think the AL outfield is where I'm most interested, because guys like Buxton and Judge, with the recent injury concerns that they've had, I just don't see those guys getting a third at bat. I think they'll be out of the game quicker. And Stanton too. Like they've seen enough all-star appearances, and with the injury concerns around them, like Kyle Tucker is someone I would like a lot. I think he gets into the game sooner than someone at a different position.
I like that call. Yeah, you can pretty easily maneuver around. Like again, first base for the National League, very hard avoid for me, right? Because you've got Goldschmidt is starting, but you also have Pete Alonso, you have CJ Cron, you have Freddie Freeman, and you have Albert Pujols. So some of those guys will work in at DH, I would imagine too, but there's not all that many at bats to satisfy all of those guys. So I would be wary of the backup first baseman in the National League and etc. Like you can kind of see which positions are a little bit thinner, and I like those reserves more.
Do either of you think there are any starters who only see 1 plate appearance?
Oh, 1 second. Why am I not seeing Freddie Freeman on this roster?
Is he off the roster? I think he was replaced by Pujols, or is that wrong?
Oh, okay, that might be right. I'm Lamarca. I was just double checking because I didn't see his name. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something.
I thought he was a late addition, but I could be wrong. I mean,
we're all Googling now.
I think Freddie Freeman was a replacement for somebody else, but whatever. he might have been added so late that they didn't get him into the player pool in time.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be what happened. So that's still relevant as far as like the positional logjam, even if you can't play.
So we didn't talk Pujols much last night in the home run derby, right? Because no one thought he had a chance. But any chance that Pujols at 4K plays a lot because this is his last ride? Is that something you care about at all? No, Lamarcus. Like,
no,
I think getting 2 plate appearances, right? Like anyone's viable if they're going to bat twice.
I think he gets 1 plate appearance and that's it.
And he calls it a day. That's fair too. That's the other way of looking at it, right? All right, get me out of here. Good.
I think you let him get their ovation. You let him tip their cap to the crowd. You let him get his 1 AB. And then even if they get on base, I think they get run for. Like, I think it's just a pure token. Let them tip their cap, call it a career type of thing.
That sounds like a ceremony that we're likely to get, honestly. Pujols hits a single and then they take him out and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, there's definitely potential for a little cookie served up down the middle.
That too. Very much so.
It's crazy because yes, that kind of thing can happen, and we're actually talking about building lineups and placing bets on this, and then it's like, let's just let the guy hit a home run, right? Like, what if that happens? That just throws a wrench in the whole thing.
But ovations like Lamarca just mentioned, you see that all the time. I mean, when it comes to the great
special.
Yeah,
in the NBA All-Star game, Chris Paul already had a torn ligament in his hand and played anyway for like 3 minutes.
Kemba Walker played a whole 25 minutes a couple years ago, and I'm like, what is going on here? You're hurt.
Yeah.
Guys are obsessed with this.
To go back to players that we do like, though, I think of the bench guys in the NL, I think Travis d'Arnaud, for the reasons that Lamarca kind of outlined, makes the most sense. Like, he'd probably be my favorite NL bench hitter because of the catcher phenomenon, where like once he's in, he's in.
Mm-hmm.
If William Contreras is not catching because he's the DH, and then Wilson Contreras comes out, d'Arnaud is the guy for the rest of the game. He probably bats twice. So yeah, I think on each side, my first bench hitter would probably be d'Arnaud in the NL and Tucker in the AL.
Okay. Very good.
But I think, I don't know. The Pujols thing is just weird. Like, it's really hard to have a concrete take on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Starting at catcher for the American League, Kirk. No, not Kirk.
Yeah, Kirk's the starter with Trevino. I mean, Trevino, I think, is playable too.
Sorry.
Yeah, because once he's in also, if his time comes up through the order twice. But, like, I think Kirk could actually see 3 plate appearances, although he is the 9 hitter.
Right. That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
How attractive
it's
is
less
that?
likely. I think it depends on how likely is it that one team just has a 7-run inning? Like, we never see that, right?
Ever.
Where a stack just goes nuts.
Isn't the public play always to take the under in the All-Star game?
I feel like the public is just split. I don't know. Unless there's a major trend that's happened in recent years.
Where's Steve Buchanan? I want splits.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
showing-
close to 50-50.
I'm showing 59% of the bets on the over,
On the over?
67% of the dollars on the under. So I
Okay.
think that it's very much the public is betting with their hearts. They want to see, action. It's an all-star game. They want home runs and such. The sharps are more inclined to take the under, which is why this line, it opened at 8. It's down to 7.5. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Again, National League favored in this All-Star game. All right, so just to serve the general person, right? Let's play the game though, because I mean, of course, we start the show talking about the extra inning thing, and then Meiselman's already diving into reserve players. But Meiselman, if you had to pick a starter that you like, because what if it is an under? What if the under ends up being the play and all the offense comes early?
Yeah. No, that's fair. You're talking as far as like bettable for their MVP odds, who would be an interesting choice. I think Kirk is potentially one. Like, we're going to see him bat at least twice. He's a good hitter, and he's the longest odds, I think, of any starter at 50-1. Like, I don't see, none of the guys below him are starting. So I'm going to default to Alejandro.
Tim Anderson is, I think.
Tim Anderson's also 50.
Yep.
Like, that's where I would, because I think it's random enough that, for Ohtani to win, he has to homer, I think. He's only plus 390. Like, you're not getting enough odds on that. I would just look to like the longest odds starters you can find.
it's a silly line for a one-way Ohtani. That's part of the reason why I asked if he was going to pitch.
Right.
Because if he pitched, then the door is like, okay, yeah, he should be the favorite. But what stands out to me is that 4 of the top 5 in terms of like the shortest favorites play for the American League, with the exception being Mookie Betts. But we just talked about the NL is favored to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my favorite bet right now is Acuna at plus 2,000. He's hitting leadoff for the National League. I think he's got a chance for 3 at-bats. We know he's a dangerous player. He could steal a bag potentially. He checks a lot of the same boxes as a guy like Shohei Ohtani for the American League, but I'm getting him at 20-1 instead of 4-1.
What would you say about Clayton Kershaw if he retires the side in order and 2 of them are strikeouts, and that's his only inning, and the NL wins like 3-1? Like, will they give it to him for the hometown bias towards him, or is that?
I think it's going to be very tough for a pitcher to win this award, unless you think if Kershaw can go 2 innings. Then
I doubt it though. I don't think that's on the table.
Yeah, so I would focus in on the hitters. Would be my.
We didn't talk about the pitchers at all for DFS, so maybe we should jump to that at some point. But I do agree. I'm more just like throwing it out there. Like, what if one of the pitchers was especially dominant? I think it was Freddie Peralta struck out the side in his inning last year. I think that's the right. I think I have the right player for that. But yeah, that's like most pitchers are not going more than an inning anyway. So
Quick thought.
you
Quick
probably
thought
do want to go
too.
to a longer shot hitter.
Quick thought too, and Meiselman, I think you brought this up a few minutes ago. But the other thing that worries me, and this is your point about reserves getting in and then wondering what does take value away from reserves is this new extra inning the home run derby rule is important to bring up because, like you said, if it goes to extra innings, that does throw a wrinkle. You're not getting more ABs by having a reserve in your lineup.
If it goes to the home, maybe this is what you're getting at. I just want to ask you at first. Who's eligible for that?
They did announce each team has selected 3 players.
We know who those guys are, or
yes.
Because that'll affect MVP potentially also. Like if someone wins the home run derby, that's what you were gonna. Okay, so who do we have as those 3 choices?
Mark is on the case.
Okay.
Well, he finds that the other thing.
France, Julio Rodriguez, Kyle Tucker for the AL.
Okay.
For the NL, it is going to be Alonso, Acuna, and Schwarber.
So I would definitely
Derby guys. Okay.
Yes.
To try to side with one of those for MVP. If you're honestly, I don't like this market at all. But if you're and in fairness, like I'm not just disliking everything. It's not super negativity for me today because I actually like the DFS contests. But from a sportsbook perspective, I think this is a bit of a stretch for me to even recommend any of these. But if you're going to bet an MVP long shot for fun, I think picking someone who is one of those 6 hitters does make sense because if it does end up tied, and it's a close, let's say it's 2-2 and it goes to extras, the person who carries the home run derby to win it for their team is probably just getting it, right? Like that's how they'll determine it.
Can you say those names again? So you said Acuna,
Yes.
Alonso, Rodriguez. Who else you got?
Ty France.
Schwarber.
Who's going to be way down there.
Wow. Okay.
Kyle Tucker.
Tucker and Schwarber, the 2 Kyles.
And Schwarbombs.
So that helps your case on Acuna too. Say he starts, plays the first 4 or 5 innings, and then they go to the derby, and then he hits the game-winning homer.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
He goes 1 for 2 in the real game with a double and then hits the most homers in the derby and then he wins easily probably. Then he's probably an easy choice.
Right.
I think it's just so many moving parts. Each manager will select an all-star coach to serve as the pitcher along with a bullpen catcher.
So weird.
Yeah. It's just like,
it's so
it seems
strange.
like they were just, I don't know. Somebody was like, you know what would be fun? Let's have a home run derby after the home run derby.
Because they don't want to send more pitchers out there and ruin their arms, and they want to give these guys an actual break. I like it.
This is only the second most excitement that we've had rooting for a tie in the last year, though, because it still doesn't stack up to the
or Raiders Chargers. We get
no, that's what I was. Yeah, that's still the ultimate root for a tie thing. No, nothing's ever going to pass that. But this is second place.
Last point on offense, and I'll just keep the MVP board up. And I think Meiselman brought this up earlier. Then we can go to pitchers that you like for the DFS contest. You mentioned injuries too. Look at the top of this board. A bunch of these guys have either come back from injury this year, starting the season late, or got injured early in the season. They've been in and out of the lineup. Acuna is one of those names. Aaron Judge, Stanton, Betts, Buxton. Keep that in mind too.
I mean, Buxton is still resting like twice a week for the Twins.
Yes.
It seems a little irresponsible that he's even playing, but
to your points, maybe an at-bat or 2, and then bench guys are going to get most of the clout. And to Meiselman's point, if you've got name recognition, like Ohtani, like Judge, like Betts, play 4 innings, call it a day.
You want to focus on guys that you think can go yard.
This is what I was worried about because now I'm going to be all in on Kyle Tucker. Everything sets up so well for him. And he's in the derby.
Is like almost always somebody who hits a homer. So that's really what I would kind of zero in on.
Yep. Okay. And like and just the Dodgers narrative too. I think Meiselman brought up Clayton Kershaw, but maybe it doesn't hurt either to pick a Dodger.
It doesn't feel like enough for Kershaw. Unless if they come out and say Kershaw's going to go 2 innings, if we get that announcement, I don't anticipate one. But if that were to happen, like that could be enough where it's worth betting him for MVP.
So when you're looking at value in the DFS contest, when it comes to, so I'm assuming you're talking about starting pitchers that will get relief innings for the contest. We're talking about the contest now.
Yeah. I'm just kind of scanning through this. Like there's so many choices. I don't know that any pitcher's going more than an inning, especially because we don't have extras now. So it's relevant here too. Like they don't need to plan to have someone available for the 10th or 11th because we're not going to have a 10th or 11th. So I just I would assume, I mean, how many pitchers do we have available for each team? Is it like 10 or so?
It's
more than 9.
It's at least 10.
Yeah.
Not every pitcher is going to get into the game.
Right. Why would anyone pitch multiple innings? Like it just.
I would say if anything, the starter maybe goes 2, but every other pitcher will be going 1.
They may feel like McClanahan has done enough this year to be deserving of that. Where like if he has a strong first inning where he retires the side in order, that they let him go out there. I think McClanahan's really the only guy with a shot to pitch 2 innings.
Yeah, and the guy that I'm leaning towards the most at pitcher is it's Edwin Diaz. I think he's earned the right to pitch in this game for the National League, either as their regular closer or as a setup man. And he has been just a strikeout machine. He's striking out more than 50% of the batters that he faces this season. So strikeouts are really what we're targeting if you're going for a pitcher in this contest. You're not going to get length, so you need to pile up the strikeouts. And Diaz is as good a bet as anybody to get 2+ in his inning of work. And again, it wouldn't shock me if he ends up serving as the National League closer in this game.
Yeah. And that probably doesn't matter what the score is, right? Like he'll just pitch the 9th.
Yeah. And I don't know if they give you points for a save anymore, but if they, So I would just try and target the guys that are going to pile up the most strikeouts, and Diaz is at the top of the list, and he's priced at the minimum at 4K.
Yeah. I mean, McClanahan will be the most popular pitcher. So you might want to be wary of that and pick someone like Diaz or Clay Holmes or, a high-end closer instead, because less people will have them. But if you are stacking the bench hitters, one of the things you need to happen is for the starting hitters to not be that good. So in a lineup where you're playing like Travis d'Arnaud and Kyle Tucker and Albert Pujols maybe, or whoever, I think having McClanahan be in that lineup, that makes sense. Like I'm kind of leaning that direction. I don't mind Diaz, but I'd rather just have the late game hitters anyway. So I might just throw McClanahan in, because if Aaron Judge, or sorry, not Judge, but let's say like Mookie homers in the first inning, like your bench stacks might be dead anyway. Like you need those guys to get out.
Yep. I think that's a good correlation right there. And then the last thing I want to say is no pitchers in the captain spot. You're gonna need a homer guy in the captain spot if you want to win. I just don't think a starting pitcher or any sort of pitcher is going to put up a big enough score.
And maybe a derby guy. Maybe you put a derby guy in the captain spot.
I don't think they're going to get points for it, but that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be dope. Imagine. And Ron Acuna win.
Wait a minute. So even hold on a second. So you're telling me, from a betting perspective, which again makes sense, there's no way to calculate points for this. You could just win the game or lose the game. The guy who hits the game-winning homer in the home run derby, or whatever, the game-winning number of home runs, he's going to play a part in who wins MVP, potentially. Yes. But if Ronald Acuna hits home run and he's in your captain spot, but he got removed in the 5th inning, it won't matter? Like that's
the DFS contest ends at the end of the 9th inning.
Okay. Yes, correct. Right. If it didn't, you should just play all 6 derby guys and hope that it's a tie game.
Right.
Yeah, now that you say it like that, that's
yeah.
That's a pretty
but
good.
No, you can't.
Okay. You guys all-star game out? Do you have all your takes out?
I think so.
Okay.
For me, at least. Lamar, you got anything?
I just realized I never set my microphone up for this show.
Hey, you sound great. Seriously.
My audio I've been yelling into my mic, which is down here. So now I got it in the position.
A couple of folks are on Twitch. Zonker says AL will win. Bobby says home run derby was a lefty. MVP will be a lefty.
Okay.
Not sure they're throwing little lobs the whole game, though. I mean, that's a little. Yeah. They're actually going to throw 95, maybe 100. That's a little different than a batting practice pitcher. Hey, Lamarca, any futures that you're on that you want to discuss before we sign off here before 6 o'clock?
Let's take a peek. I've been pretty heavily riding the Yankees to win the World Series this year. They still are behind the Dodgers, which to me feels like a mistake. If you're looking for more of a longer shot, I continue to think the Cardinals are a nice price at 40-1 plus 4,000. I think that they are just a little bit more talented than what that number indicates. They are kind of locked in a battle for the final playoff spot right now with the Phillies, who are at 3,500. But to me, the Cardinals are just a little bit more of a complete team.
Okay. How about you, Meiselman? Anything you want to share before we wrap it up?
I have a couple things. There's like a partial agreement with where LaMarca is looking and a partial disagreement. I actually think so. We have the market for team to finish with the best record. I actually like the Dodgers for that. It should be under season specials. Let's see. Yeah. Is that right? Is that where it is?
Yep.
Best record. Yeah. The Dodgers are in an easier division than the Yankees are, and that's really like the main thing for me. And the Dodgers also were more injured than the Yankees for a lot of the season. I don't think the Yankees are probably going to get to the point where they're so far ahead in the division that Judge is just taking games off. And now we have Severino out for maybe a week or two. Who knows how long? Like the Yankees don't have to push their guys. The Dodgers, I think still like the Padres are enough in range where like they probably have more incentive to keep their guys on the field. And I think also the Dodgers just tend to rest their top guys less. So these are pretty even teams. I could buy that the Yankees have a better shot to win the World Series. This is purely a regular season thing. And also the fact that you're getting plus 180 on the Dodgers, I think that's a decent value. I guess there's sort of a disagreement there. But yeah, I think the Dodgers are a good bet here.
But never mind the division. If you look at the entire, the whole league, if you're the Dodgers, you got to worry about the Mets and the Braves too, as teams catching up on you for home field throughout the postseason.
Right. They're definitely going to care about that too. And that's a good segue because the other bet I like is right over on the next tab in the season specials at division to win the World Series. It's right there.
Yeah. And that my other point being the Yankees, they've got the next team is the Astros, but they have enough of a gap there. It's a bigger gap than the Mets being behind the Dodgers is my point.
Yeah. The Yankees may run away with the entire American League and then just not care at the end. But the NL East to win the World Series, I actually think is quite a good value because I think the Phillies might still be the most underrated team in baseball. Bryce Harper's going to come back at some point. They'll probably have him healthy for the playoffs. I know he's still going to have the ligament issue in his elbow, but he can just DH and he's a great hitter once he gets over the hand injury. I think the Braves, now that they're healthy,
they're good.
Braves are really good. And the Mets are going to have DeGrom back for the playoffs, right? That like...
They're going to get DeGrom back within a week or so.
Yeah, we'll see what it looks like.
The playoffs.
The goal is to keep him healthy for the playoffs. He can even pitch 4 innings at a time until then. Who knows? But I'm assuming that they'll have DeGrom and like these are 3 really good teams. So I don't really get why the AL East, like the Yankees and the Dodgers are the 2 best teams, but I think you could argue that the 3rd and 4th best teams might be the Mets and the Braves.
Mm-hmm.
The Astros are in that tier, but like it doesn't, I think that this line is giving not enough credit to the Phillies also, who I think have a decent shot to end up in the wild card. And then like if the Braves play the Phillies in the wild card, one of them is still going on, one of them is still advancing. And now
you'll
you
have 2.
NL East.
Well, yeah, it's different this year, Matt, because you're getting 3 wild card teams in.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
Well, I guess, right. They're not playing against each other, but I think the Phillies and Cardinals is bound to be close, and the Giants are in it too. So I guess you've got the Padres as one very likely wild card team, the Mets or Braves, whoever doesn't win the division. And then I guess where we sort of disagree is I think the Phillies are better than the Cardinals, but that's going to be
close. I think both teams are underrated, right? If you look at just run differential, right? The Yankees are first, no surprise there. The Dodgers are second. The Astros are third. The Mets are fourth. The Braves are fifth. The Cardinals are sixth, and the Phillies are seventh. So they are right there amongst that next tier of teams. They're better than teams like the Brewers, teams like the Padres, even. So I think that I'm in agreement that the Phillies are undervalued. I just like the Cardinals a little bit more.
Sure. So, but even so, like, I think the Braves are better than people realize now, and the Mets are quite good.
The
So a
Braves
lot
are
of it's just
excellent.
coming-
The
yeah.
Braves are an excellent team. I still think they're going to win the division. They're just their offense to me
Spoken
is
like
so
a true
much
Mets
better than
fan.
the Mets. It's better.
The
They're a
fans
better
are
team.
so negative about everything all the time. It's never going to change.
I've been hurt before, guys. Okay.
Yeah. They're going to have to win like 3 consecutive World Series before the negativity goes away. It's just a thing forever.
Well, I would love to turn into one of those Boston guys. You know, I remember when Boston guys used to feel like that gut punch was coming every year. Now it's like they walk on water, you know? We're the
Boston guys still
Boston,
think the Red
baby.
Sox are making the playoffs
Championship
this year.
town, you know? I can't wait.
Glash doesn't seem too happy about this.
I don't know what to say. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Um,
There is one other bet I like before we wrap up.
Okay.
Just a quick one.
What do you got?
Mike Trout is injured again, and the Angels.
That's right.
Goal
10-day IL.
Yeah, 75.5 for the Angels is too high. Like they should be in the low 70s, if not like less than 70. Because this team's going to give up at some point. I don't know if Ohtani is going to stop pitching, but like I could see them spreading out his starts where they get like there's just no reason to get Trout or Ohtani hurt in a season where nothing matters. Like there's no way this team is buying at the deadline. And the other teams around
You
them
don't think they're
probably
getting in
will
on the
buy.
Juan Soto sweepstakes?
Yeah, it's more likely Texas goes after. I think Texas is crazy. Like I don't really understand what they've been doing. Like the fact that they thought they would contend this year, but whatever the case is, they seem to be more aggressive. The Angels are not. There's no way that they're going to be aggressive at the deadline.
they have
They could
70.
end up somewhere else in the American League, and it's worse for them.
They have 70 games left. They'd have to go slightly over 500 to hit the over.
Yeah, and I think they're a sub 500
Yeah,
team.
that's a terrible line. Thank you for pointing this to our attention, Mr. Meiselman.
That's what I do. That's why I'm here.
Making a sizable donation to this spot.
On that
I mean,
note,
I love Shohei Ohtani, and I think Trout's amazing when he plays. But like, how much more Mike Trout are we going to see this season?
in baseball, you can't, unlike other sports are team sports. Football, you benefit. The quarterback benefits from the weapons around him, just like the defense, from coaching and cohesiveness. In basketball, chemistry matters. In this sport, you can have the 2 best players in the sport.
It's the tungsten Armo Doyle.
That does not account for guys. Does not account for guys 3 through 9 in the order who stink, right? It doesn't matter.
They're batting John VR in the overcome spot. Like this team, the players around Ohtani and Trout in the batting order. It's like John VR, and it was like Matt Duffy in the 4.
Yes,
like it's crazy who else they have.
Yep,
one of the greatest tweets of all time, right? Mike Trout homered 3 times, and Shohei Ohtani did something that hasn't been done since Tungsten O'Doyle of the Oakland Groomsmen, as the Angels lose to the Tigers 8-3.
exactly right. It's terrible. It's really sad. All right. Well, on that note, we will say goodbye. I think the golf guys are here tomorrow. They'll talk 3M, I'm sure, and get you set for what's going on in the golf world, and maybe even talk some football, because there was some Trey Lance stuff out today. And who knows? We're getting pretty close now with rookies reporting to camp that NFL news will start coming our way more often. For Matt Meiselman and Matt LaMarca, thanks to Eamon and Daniel for what they do behind the scenes as well. Brendan Glasheen, thanks for watching the Slate. Be sure to join tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. on Twitter at DK Nation for the Sweat. See you later.